So if you click the Z or X button on Citra, it'll pull up kind of a sub menu where you can talk to characters, which is actually really as if the storytelling in this game wasn't already really the fact that you can do something like that in and of itself is pretty cool, but it also seems to be pretty accurate per what's going on in the story, despite what it is that you're doing. And given what this game is, it really kind of opens up a different kind of RPG that I haven't really played before when it comes to the storytelling in the game itself. So that was quite refreshing. It's an interesting mechanic. I'm not sure what buttons Z and X are when it comes to what they're trying to replicate on a Nintendo DS or 3DS, quite literally. But if you click that, it'll bring up a menu. You can talk to Yangus. You can equip items. You can move items in your bag. Everything I'm doing now, it's kind of like a main menu. So that's what I'm doing in the game now. I think what I'll probably do for the next couple videos, since all I'm doing is is grinding in a lot of these games, say for Final Fantasy and Pokemon Eternal Emerald and Pokemon Showdown. I can use this game as a way for me to talk about Legends of Heroes, Trails Beyond the Horizon. It kind of fits really well with what this game is. And then I'll use Final Fantasy as a way for me to talk about things that are happening in Fantasian. It's going to be hard for me to talk in detail about what's going on in Legend of Heroes, only because the orbiment system in that game, which is how you can manipulate or how you can change what it is that you want to happen in a battle, how you want to change the flow of the battle. You do that by way of the orbiment system. And every character has their own orbiment and subsequent drivers. And through each of those, you can change the drivers between the characters however you want. I've only picked up one, but for the most part, everyone has their own. Van has two, and then I've picked up one, and that's been the extent of the drivers. The quartz that you can put in the orbiment itself, you have to open the slots on the orbiment, which cost Sepith, which is kind of an in-game currency. And in addition to Mira, which would be Gil from Final Fantasy or just your regular money. Then you have Sepith, and then you also have things like Sepith Mass, which you can sell in the Epstein workshop part of the Grimgartan for more Mira. And I guess what I'm trying to say is the in-game economy in Legend of Heroes is a lot more serious than it is in Fantasian. In Fantasian, there's an in-game economy, but it's really very quickly kind of canceled out by the game and the bosses and how difficult they are. And but there is like an in-game economy in Fantasian. It's just more extensive in Legend of Heroes. Sometime in the future, I'll probably take out my, at the start of like my New Game Plus run of that game, I'll let people know what it is that I have been using. And nothing's really going to change. I've kind of found out a way in the Grim Gartan, and once you're in there, the Epstein workshop, to make stronger quartz. But I really have like a loadout for Van especially that I feel like I feel comfortable taking into like a New Game Plus run. For the other characters, I still have to quite literally open up their orbiment, which costs Sepith, before I can just equip them fully. Like I have Van, which is the main character so far that I've gotten to play with. Once I do that, I'll probably focus on progressing the story, but I think I'm going to just spend a little bit more time in the second layer of the Grim Gartan before I leave where I am now in the story to progress. I'm level 20, very close to level 21. Once I reach level 25, even if every character's orbiment isn't fully open, I'll still probably focus on progressing the story. Maybe before I get to like a New Game Plus run, I'll pull out my Nintendo Switch and let people know, what each character has equipped, because that's the only way. I can't really make like how I shared what I'm doing in Fantasian by way of the community posts. I can't do that with Legend of Heroes. I can take a screenshot of what everyone's orbiment is and share that way, but even then, to give people an idea of quite literally what's happening in the battle, I'd have to share like what each quartz is doing. So, to do that in a community post would be more trouble than it's worth. But going back to this game for a second, if you're wondering why I'm leaving Alexandria, there was like a pathway outside of the dungeon where we had to fight the first boss. That kind of leads, like you'll see where I'll go. Basically, there's a fork in the road up here, and if you once you reach the end of this road, take a left. You're kind of going back to where you started the game out at, and then so if I were to go up here to the fork, take a left, walk, and then take a right, that's where you fight the first boss. If I weren't to take a right there and were to keep walking and take a left, I believe you're going back towards the first town. But this is just another road that I noticed before I got to Alexandria, and I wanted to see where it took me. And I believe ultimately it's a dead end, but yeah, maybe over the next couple days, I might actually do that sooner rather than later. Just kind of share because it would be a way for me to not only make a video quite easily, as terrible as that sounds, but also let people know just what's going on. And to be fair, that's kind of why I'm making these type of voiceovers, to share things like that, and to a lesser extent just kind of keep in touch with everyone.